Hi, I'm Joe Sierra with STI Computer Services. I want to thank everyone for attending today. Today, we're going to talk about a concept referred to as managed services. It's a broad term that covers everything from fixing broken computers to installing servers, setting up networks, internet services, cybersecurity, and system monitoring. So it's a very broad term, and when you ask someone if they provide managed services, they'll all say yes, but it may not be the same thing. So our guest speaker today was Al Toper, who's the director of managed services at STI, is going to break it all down for us today. I want to introduce him. Uh, Al Toper, take it away.
Thanks for the introduction, Joe. Yep, as he said, my name's Al Toper. I'm the Director of Technical Services at STI. And before we get into today's subject matter, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and STI. Personally, I started at STI in 1996, but my IT experience, I started in the U.S. Air Force. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. My screen was frozen. So I started in the U.S. Air Force back in the mainframe days, where if you see these sci-fi movies, these big computer rooms with spinning tape drives and things like that going on. So I was there. And then when I left the Air Force, I sent my resume around the country and ended up in Washington working for some government contractors. And then after a while, I decided I wanted to make a little more money, so I moved into the commercial space and I worked for some big companies. I mentioned a couple like Boat US, which is like the AAA of cars, but for boats. And then I moved up into the Pennsylvania area going to work for a company called the Franklin Mint. It was a pretty good sized company. We had over 4,000 employees in 26 countries. So I was there for a while, and around that time in the mid 90s, I decided to join STI. So STI officially was incorporated in 1981, and they started by selling software to medical practices. And what they did is they were one of the first companies that wrote a program that let medical practices upload their claims and bills to the insurance companies over a dial-up modem. So they didn't sell computers or anything like that. They just sold software. In 1996, I joined the company. I was looking to do something new and original, and they were looking for someone to start an IT business. So I joined the company, I hired 3 IT geeks, and we started going off. So basically, we are outside Philadelphia, right by the Valley Forge battlefield. We have 400 customers, over 400 customers across the U.S., a lot of them in the Mid-Atlantic, but we do have customers in many other states. We've been doing this so long now that we've received some accolades and some awards, and we're partners with some of the biggest vendors out there. We want to be your trusted technical advisor. So what we do is we don't want to just tell you what computers to buy. We want to find out about your business and find ways to make you more productive and how technology can help you make more productive. This is basically the mission statement. It was a little different when I started, but it was basically this. STI is committed to providing enterprise level solutions, service and support to small and medium-sized businesses. So we help our customers minimize cost, improve their IT service, and limit frustrations and eliminate them, but minimally limit them. It's not an easy task to do that, but our original mission had been to provide enterprise level support at prices that small and medium-sized businesses can afford. So we did elaborate on it a little bit. But one of my favorite things, and nothing satisfies me more, is the feedback I get from our clients. One of these boxes, we offer this thing called toner on demand. People that have businesses, they have a printer and they would buy every time their printer ran out of ink, they would buy 2 cartridges, one to put in the printer and then one to put in the closet till they ran out. Well, using some of our tools and stuff, we have a program where we actually see the printers, and we see a printer get down to 10% less ink left of ink. We would automatically send a cartridge, and you would pay wholesale prices, less than what they sell them for, say, on Amazon. What I really like is this bottom right here, this last email that's in white. I just got that last week. I mean, I'm getting this stuff all the time, and it really makes me happy. You know, this person was thanking a whole group of employees I have, and then she suggested I should give them a significant raise in addition to more paid time off, which is very generous of her. Uh, Basically, there are 3 types of companies out there, or 3 types of support for your technology. There are break fix, which are places like Geek Squad or You Break I Fix, or the your son-in-law's smart, friend who knows IT, and he'll come. You have a problem, they'll fix it. Then there's MSPs, which have those technicians, but they also offer monitoring tools and some other services. And then there are MSSPs, which do everything an MSP does, but they also include the cybersecurity tools and prevention that is needed today, which most of you have read the news and know what's going on. These are some of the services that we include if you're a client of ours. From the initial network evaluation, you decide to come with us, we're going to do an entire evaluation of your network. We're going to start installing our tools. And as soon as we start our tools, we will immediately start getting messages about outdated hardware, software, patches that have not been installed. And we're going to continue to engage not only during this initial onboarding phase, but as long as you're our client, we're going to be with you every step of the way, working with you, meeting with you, advising you, helping you. And yes, if you have a problem and call us, we'll take care of you. Now, I list these things that are included in our maintenance agreements, but we do so much more. Everything now is data-driven, technology-driven. So we even install telephone systems. We help with copiers. You know, I basically tell people, if you plug it in, before you buy it, give us a call and discuss it with us. Not that we'll sell it to you, but that we're going to make sure it's not going to affect other parts. So why do you need an MSP? The reason is technology is advancing quickly, even for me. And I've been doing this a long time, and I am in trade rags. I'm at conferences all the time. Uh, Personally, you need to focus on your business, what you're in business for. So that's what you need to be doing. You don't want to be the low-hanging fruit. I'll get into that in a bit, but low-hanging fruit is what these hackers are looking for. They're just picking off the people that aren't doing the basic stuff, and they're ransomwaring them, or bringing them to their knees and trying to get money out of them. And the criminals have gotten a lot smarter. You know, they understand technology, and they know that they can bring companies to their knees using technology. And the tools that they are getting now are much more advanced, and they're easier to obtain. The dark web is a marketplace for them. And now we have AI. And that is all we're talking about at the conferences these days. With the advent of AI, you know, it is going to affect, it can help you and make some things a lot easier for you, but it also helps the criminals do some of their bad acts also. All right, so basically you have 2 options, right? Option A is you hire an IT staff and you buy the tools that we supply, and they monitor your network and they take care of you and they're in the office with you. But hopefully all your problems happen during the day, because unless you hire a night shift, they're not going to be there. And then, or option B is you partner with a company. I mentioned ourselves, but with any MSSP, and it's really the only option. Even if you have an IT person at your office, they should be subbing some of their work out to an MSSP like us. Because first off, IT people, they're expensive. They take vacations, they get sick, and I used to say get hit by a bus, but now I say if they were to win the Powerball, it's the same thing. You'll never see them again. And they don't know everything. I don't know everything. That's why I had to build a team around me. STI, we work with all these vendors. We get you the best prices, and we're going to find the best solutions for you. We're going to vet them. And we work in a team approach. So there won't be like, you'll have an IT guy that you'll say, oh, that's my tech. And you'll probably see him most, but we use a team approach where we're going to have multiple people that are familiar with your office so that they can help you, so that if my guy wins the Powerball, you'll have other people in our office that are familiar with your office and will be able to help you. So they'll fill right in. Plus, we'll do R&D, and one of the things I really is one of the last points is I really my biggest goal is to hire geeks with personalities. I want people that can talk to my clients, that are friendly, they're courteous, they show respect. No one is dumb as far as I'm concerned, because you may hear that from IT people when someone doesn't understand something in technology, and I don't go for that. Businesses are under constant attack these days. It's just going on. You got criminals, and basically there's two types of them out there. There's active criminals and there's passive criminals. But there's other things your business can make your business suffer, and that's things like hardware and software failures, and then employees. Employees make mistakes. They accidentally click on things they shouldn't, and they can cause problems. So basically, there's two types of criminals out there. There's active criminals, and they're the ones who know you. They're after you. They want you. So they're going to work on things in ways that they can penetrate your network or your building and to get in there and to get after you. And then the bigger problem for most people is passive criminals. They're the ones who just put out some bait and try to get you to bite on it. They're sending these phishing emails. They're even making phone calls, and pretty disguisable. I just saw a demonstration with AI where it was a white coat hacker. He wasn't a bad person. He could call someone, get them to say a couple things like their name. He got them to say a couple words, and he recorded it, and then he used AI to generate that same exact voice saying all sorts of things. So these passive criminals, they are really, really dangerous, and they do things like they look out there for vulnerabilities. When Microsoft says they're coming out with a new patch, or a software vendor comes out with a new patch because of a vulnerability, these guys are looking out there, and then they look out on the internet for places that haven't done. Well, slide changed on me. I'm sorry. They haven't done their patching yet, and they go after that. And they're already marked. They're monitoring the dark web already for any stolen data and looking for, as I mentioned before, the low-hanging fruit. Now, hardware failures. I like to say this: everything mechanical will break. Your computers, but your car, your washing machines, anything on this planet is going to break. It's not if it will break, it's when. So everything can fail, and if it fails, you're down. So we're trying to prevent downtime. Technology continues to evolve. So you have to buy new stuff, and it's also growing. So, that phone you have that can't hold any more pictures, or your PC can't hold another file, that's a problem. And then there's software failures. People ask me, software can break? Yes, a patch will come down for one product and it'll break another. I've had many of cases where I've downloaded the latest Windows patch, and all of a sudden some other product I have doesn't work right. And then they're telling me, oh, you updated that patch? You need to update the patch here. So there is multiple ways that you can be being, you could have downtime. And then most importantly is employees. I have a proverb on this slide, and we've been saying this for years, and I'm talking about all the way back to the mainframe days. The majority of IT issues are caused somewhere in between the keyboard and the chair, and that's people. So, your employees, are they properly trained? Do you give them some, when they start day one, do you give them some basic training? Do you have in your employee handbook policy saying don't use your computers for personal use, don't share password, and then have them attest to reading these things? And then you can have disgruntled employees. There are employees that are upset at you for one reason or another that could try to cause damage, purposely. And then you have ones that are not disgruntled. They may be tricked, and that's where those spear phishing emails and stuff like that, where they're not trying to do anything wrong, they're just not following the rules. And then of course your employees, they know too much, they know everything about, they may know their boss's address, or of course they know the cell number, they know they know a lot about you. Okay, the cost of downtime. So here I went on Forbes magazine, and this was a standard. Now I'm going to assume these are bigger companies, but on average, downtime can cost these companies $300,000 to $500,000 an hour. It's crazy. So when if you're in healthcare, you might have heard about the Change Healthcare, U.S. healthcare issues of last year. You know, that cost them, it cost people down flow like doctors hundreds, millions of dollars. So it really is a major um, cause that could put you out of business. So I did a little research at smaller companies, and even a small company, and I'm not saying small, I'm saying up to about a $5 million company. So anything below that, the numbers are still astronomical. They're saying here 137 to 400, over $400 a minute of lost downtime. Now these costs include lost revenue, people sitting on their hands because they're not working, so you have reduced productivity, and you have a possibility of damaging your reputation. If one person calls another and says, "Hey, don't do business with them. I was in one of their hacks," it can be be an effect to your business. So how do we protect your data, your systems? We install these tools, we monitor these tools, and I'm sorry, this slide thing keeps moving on me, I apologize. So we're installing tools, and I have a US based help desk with US based technicians that all work for STI, and when we are out there, my help desk, which begins, standard hours, it starts at 7 a.m., for regular service and support, I think it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They come in at like 6:30 and they start looking at our clients, and we'll find clients that are down or problems or issues that have happened overnight, and they want you up before you get up before you get in the office. Your system should be up and functional. So some of the stuff we install is pretty cool. Like in the advanced stuff, here's one tool that we're using for one of our cybersecurity tools. This was a report I ran for April, but I did this report last week, so we're talking about 3 weeks into April. This tool alone analyzed 550 million events across my customer base. And it's not even my entire customer base, because we actually we had another tool that I've changed from that still have some of our customers on, and we're migrating over. So not my complete customer base. They had 550 million events, of which 1169 of them were determined to be some type of attack, whether a ransomware agent, someone trying to phish, not just an email. I'm talking about someone actually hitting your firewall and trying to get in. Now, it cleared a lot of them, but of them, 35 had to be deeply investigated by human intervention. Someone had to actually look at those 35 and find out what they were. And of them, 17 of them became incidents. And then during an incident, It's not technically a breach because this tool will isolate that. As soon as it sees something like this happen where it determines it to be an incident, it will isolate that computer off the network. So if your employee's working and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I can't get to the internet, I can't get to anything, that then they get it's because they've been isolated. And what ends up happening, of those 17, at least 15 of them, we had to go out there, reformat the hard drive, wipe the computer down to scratch, and rebuild it. Another tactic that we use are called canaries. So it's known where the hackers want to get to and what they want to get onto. So what we do with the canaries is we install little files in these folders where the hackers will go. And it's kind of like that old canary in the coal mine. So if that file gets touched or if attempted access happens to it, it will alert us, isolate them, because that means someone is out there trying to get into that system. So it's pretty interesting, some of the tools and tactics that we've had to come up with to do it. So I want to keep you informed, but I don't want to overbear you with a bunch of information. So what I do is I send out a monthly email to all our clients, and I give you some tips and tricks on what's going on out there in the industry. And along with that email, I'll attach a couple reports. And here's an example of one of the reports I always send out. This is called an executive summary. And what this does is give an overall score of how your system is protected. Now, this is one of our offices. I pulled this, and you'll see they're at 93, which is pretty good. The thing that seems to be hurting them is their patch management is 80%. Now, that doesn't freak me out too much. What's probably happening is they're turning their computers off at night. We do all our housekeeping in the evening. You don't want patches to be installed during the day because you can have a customer or a patient in front of you, and all of a sudden a patch runs and it wants to reboot your computer and your computer reboots on you. So we do this stuff in the evenings, and what this tells me is this customer probably has a couple computers that they're turning off at night. So what I always suggest to my clients is leave your computers on at night, but turn the monitor off. They don't use much electricity. If there's a storm coming, or maybe it's a long weekend, or you're going away on vacation, yeah, you could shut it off. But long as it's up a couple evenings a week, we're going to get to it because we're constantly pinging out there to make sure everyone has the latest patches. And here's another example of another report that I'll send out at times. This is it's called a hardware lifecycle report. What this does, it goes through and looks at all your systems, and it'll let you know if there is something older. So I just pulled one page from this one. This basically is showing this office. These are all computers that are over 4 years old, and you should start budgeting to replace them. Doesn't mean you got to replace them today. It means some people like to know what they're going to have to spend in the near future. You can use a report like this to budget for your expenses for the following year. Now, before we get on to questions and discussions, people a lot of times will ask me, how long should my technology last? I tell them the same thing. Technology is on an 18-month pace, meaning what we install today won't be being built or manufactured 18 months from now. Doesn't mean it's old. You should get 3 to 5 years out of your equipment. I feel you should get 5 years. I have some customers that'll get 9 years. What matters is that if an operating system becomes discontinued, like Windows 10 is discontinued as of October 16th. So if your computers are not upgraded to a Windows 11 and haven't done it on their own, it's most likely your computer doesn't have the components in it to run Windows 11. So you need to start thinking about that. So I apologize I speak so quickly, but I have 3 daughters at home, so I have to speak fast to get all my words in. Is there any questions, Joe? Are you still with me?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for that, Al. Matt, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Al, we do have a couple of questions that have come through. So the first question asks, My software vendor told me I don't need a managed service provider because I'm on the cloud. Is that true?
Yeah, no, I've heard that a lot recently. No, it is not true. So it doesn't matter that your software is on the cloud in the sense of it is a benefit. The cloud is great for taking that application or that certain thing and putting it up there for you. But here's the problem. You still have these computers in your office and they will get confidential information on them, whether it's a lawyer you may write, I'm sorry, a letter you may write to a lawyer, or when you scan in documents and upload them to the cloud or images, those images and those things are on the hard drives of the computers there. There needs to be management of the computers and cybersecurity. Here's another problem that cloud people don't understand. Oh, some of those malwares and viruses that are out there, they're called keyloggers. They're annotating everything that you type and keeping it. So when you enter your username and password, they may get it. So you need to protect circle the wagons and protect your business in your office. Yes, you won't have to back up that application that's out on the cloud. Yes, it's their responsibility for it to be protected, but you still need to protect your own business and be able to report to some compliance officer, whether financial or healthcare OCR, that comes in and says, okay, I want to know everyone who's logged into your computer and could have gotten to that data on the cloud. Hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Al. I've got a couple more here.
Um,
Could you explain what you typically charge for your services?
That's a good one. So we have different plans. Some are very inexpensive. They're basically based on the user. We used to do that based on what computers and devices you had. But basically, everyone these days has a computer, they got a phone, they may have a tablet. So we base it on the people themselves. And, this is what I tell, so I'll tell you, the going rate out there that because I meet twice a year with 700 other partners that are owners of MSPs, so I kind of know what people are charging. I'll hear numbers anywhere from $100 to $250 per user per month. I'm not that high, but basically this is what I say to companies and business owners. When you hire someone and you say, hey, I'm going to pay this person $50,000 a year just to come up with a number, that you need to add 25% in payroll taxes, benefits, expenses, those types of additional costs above the salary. You should think to add another $1,000 or $100 a month, whatever, to that amount as a cost of having an employee. That's just the way it is now, is that it's just an additional cost when you're just determining what you're paying someone. So if if we're, I don't know what, but say we're $75 or $100, you just add that number to their salary.
A question came in about how long does it take to get set up with STI?
Okay, so it depends, and we can get out there pretty quickly, especially if you're in trouble. We try to help people out. I've built this company that we don't have a ton of turnover. We're family and we try to treat our clients as family. So we'll probably get out there pretty quickly. But usually to get completely onboarded, there's two factors. If you have a current MSP, then we need to talk and work out how we're going to handle the transition. If they're accommodating, it'll be a smooth, in 2 weeks to 4 weeks, we'll have you up and running and fully onboarded. If they're not accommodating, it could take a little longer, depending if we have to completely re-engineer your network or not. In any case, it doesn't concern me one way or the other. We pretty much charge like flat fees for onboarding people, and we're going to get you up there pretty quickly.
Al, I had a question come in regarding keyloggers. What tools do you use to protect against keyloggers?
Yeah, so we use multiple tools. So we're, of course, endpoint protection. Everyone talks about antivirus. that minimally endpoint protection is on there. We use so that endpoint protection is EDR, right? Endpoint detection and response. So we're using endpoint detection and response, which really is actually a step above antivirus. And then we use MDR, which is managed detection and response. And we also log everything in the system and have an AI product that actually looks through our, because like that 500 million I showed you earlier, there's a lot of events happening. So in AI, they're actually looking for any event that doesn't seem the norm for you and then alerting us to it. So there's multiple tools to prevent keyloggers from happening. First off is to make sure you're protected as of now. Then one should not be able to get placed on you.
Okay, Al, I got one more if that's okay for you.
No, fine.
The last question is, how do I know if my system is set up properly?
Well, you know, I didn't put a slide on here. We do have a promotion going on. We will we're offering like a level 1 network assessment. This is what we call a network assessment. It's pretty easy. It'll have you fill out some things. Those answers will help us determine, you know, what you need, where you stand in your defensive posture, and we'll work from there. But you know, we are doing it right now. We usually charge a fee to do this initial analysis because we'll take those answers and we're going to go and do some research and then, you know, maybe even poke around a little, see if we can poke around, you know, and then let you know where you are currently, and then we're going to take you to, you know, to the best, what we call best business practices of setting you up.
Thank you. Joe, any closing remarks?
Yeah, a couple. Thanks everybody for coming today. Talking about costs just reminded me of a story of two of our clients that occurred in the past couple months. One of the clients had an attack on their system, and Al told me we caught it during the monitoring and got a chance to go and check. And although they had a ransomware attack, they never got through the firewalls, never really got to the files. So when IBM used to talk about avoidable costs, that's an avoidable cost. So that event really saved that client a lot of money. On the negative end, I had another client, happened to be an orthopedic practice, and they had a ransomware attack, and it actually got through. They weren't on our managed services, ended up being down for a month. They had to get a forensic team in to pull their data to see if the data was still there. The data was compromised. They did not pay the ransom, so they lost all of their data. And more importantly, because they were a medical practice and they got their hands on what they call PHI, personal health information, they had to do reporting to the federal government. So talking to the doc, he figures it cost them about $250,000. So that's a real cost. So when you think about the costs, I will tell you an avoidable cost is a lot cheaper than a real cost. But anyway, thank you for attending today. We're going to post this presentation on our website if you want to have someone else to see it. If you have any questions, my phone number is below, as well as our email address. I'll leave it up for a few minutes. Thank you for attending today, and have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming.